this is John for MTG Nexus coming at you with our third league with the deck that I built on stream. Doing one more round of testing before I write a short sideboard guide for this for the Patreon. Once again, the Patreon is going to be active in November. Sideboard guides and such are going to be free, but you know there are going to be other perks that you can go check out on the Patreon page. I'll discuss a little bit later in the video, or maybe a different video altogether. So the main thing about this list is this list was kind of designed with the meta that was about a week and a half ago. The Omnath piles, the Death Shadow, Jund decks, as well as the Stoneblade and Humans decks making a comeback. So this deck was kind of built with that in mind. The first league out, I think we did a 5-0, and then the second league we did 3-2. We played against some fairly tough matchups and was kind of proud that we 3-2'd. I think there was a couple of Tron matchups in there. There was a couple other things. So, you know, the fact that we built a deck and then went 3-2 against a bunch of tough matchups felt kind of nice. Losing, I think, to Jeskai Wildfire in the final round for the 4-1 instead of going 3-2 instead of 4-1. Jeskai's always kind of been a tough matchup for Burn, especially if built correctly with like helixes and timely reinforcements, but overall I've been pretty pleased with this deck so far. Nothing too terribly special other than the return of Deflecting Palm, and with Roiling Vortex being in the sideboard in addition to 4 Skullcracks. Really Good Progenitus is my current graveyard card hate of choice. Obviously it's not as great against the dedicated graveyard hate decks like Oops All Spells or Dredge, but it's pretty good against decks that are trying to value you with graveyard stuff. Things like Jund with like Tarmogoyfs and Renin 6s, as well as like Scavenging Oozes. Also pretty good against decks that are trying to run Klothys. Forces them to exile their own stuff instead of exiling your things. And then it's also obviously pretty good against the Uro Omnath piles if you're going to play a little bit more of a mid-game, kind of denying them the resource of flashing back Uro. Obviously, Omnath is still a bit of an issue, but you know you do have Path Exiles and some Skull Cracks and anti-life gain stuff to try to clean that up a little bit. So, beyond that, you know, still running 20 lands. The main deck, you know, the flex slots, we're running 3 Searing Blaze, 3 Helix, running the 4 Skull Crack. Only 2 copies of Riftbolt. Riftbolt, obviously a little bit awkward of a card whenever you're playing Roiling Vortex, so I like to be able to board them out when I'm boarding in Roiling Vortex. And a lot of the matchups where I'm boarding in Roiling Vortex are decks like with Teferi Time Raveler could potentially be a card, which is also problematic for a deck like Riftbolt. So that's, deck card like Riftbolt. So that said, let's get in the league and see how we can do. We are back for match number 1 in this league. Alright, on the play, pretty good hand, maybe one more land than we ideally like, but still pretty good overall. Definitely keep. Sequencing of lands can be a little bit tricky, so sometimes you want to lead on fetch land to thin the deck. Also have considerations with Searing Blaze, so I think for that reason we're going to lead on Goblin Guide here. Looks like we're up against Jund. Really doesn't, I mean, this exchange really does kind of suck, but especially when we're just drawing lands. Doesn't look like it's just Jund here. Bloodthirst, yep. So they're going to 11. And we're drawing lands. Alright. Possible this is just red-black. Yeah, it looks like it's just red-black on Earth. 6, and then we have to race a Croxa. Seems a little rough. Need to hit runner here. Why would you even cast Inquisition here? Like, there's legit no reason to cast Inquisition. Do this and pop it. And Skullcrack you like a champ. Alright, so red black on earth. I'm gonna guess they have things and stuff for 100 Alex. Eldrazi Midrange. Oh, our opponent actually has a recent finish. Alright. So, Confidant, Croxa, Skelemental, Seasoned Pyro. They really don't bring a whole lot to the party. They bring a Brutality, a couple Plague Engineers. Nothing terribly scary out of the sideboard. Probably want to bring in the relics just to attack that particular angle. Path to Exile, somewhat relevant in some numbers. Most of the removal is black based, so Core Firewalker is kind of a nonsensical. Deflecting Palm's only particularly good against an attacking Croxa, which they can generally empty our hand out. Stirring Blaze is a question mark. Obviously, it's pretty good against Skelemental and such. Riftbolt might be a card to consider cutting. Helix might be a card to consider cutting because they're not really... Like, don't get me wrong, they're killing us with damage, but this isn't really a race thing per se, I don't think. So maybe Helix out. And then... Riftbolts? Or maybe Skewers. I think Skewers might actually be the more awkward card here. Don't really think we want to bring in Roiling Vortex in this particular matchup. They're really not gaining that much life, and Inevitability isn't really that great against their particular deck. Just being on the straw, this game's going to be a little bit rough. Their build does have certain cards that are scary, like Blood Moon and Pillage can both be scary after turn 3. This hand's a little bit awkward on the draw. I think I'm inclined to keep the one-lander against the discard deck. You know, we do have 3 1-mana plays regardless, and we probably will eventually draw lands, especially on the play, so I think I'm inclined to keep this hand. Obviously, it's a little bit clunky, especially if they have a discard spell on one, which they may not. I think I'm actually going to lead on Relic here. That way, if they have 1 mana removal spell, they're not going to get much out of it. Croxa is kind of annoying. It's also whatever here. Pitching here a Skullcrack, I guess. Just play Eidolon out here. Get rid of their Croxus. They can't unearth it or any of that kind of nonsense. Skelemental is right. Do ourselves a lot of damage this time. Probably not the best idea. Another Skelemental and we're dead. Season Pyro isn't quite lethal here. Plague Engineer and Liliana, so clunky hand, gotcha. Pass turn. Pretty sure we're dead with a lot of attack here, right? Block, block. Block here, absorb 3. Yeah, I think we're just dead. Let's just pop Relic and find out. Yep. Looks like they brought in the Plague Engineers, which just tell me they really don't have a whole lot for the matchup. This Plague Engineer isn't particularly effective against Burn. It's possible I want the Helixes back in, play around Skelemental a little bit more at instant speed. Like that. Like, that hand was a little bit awkward, right? Like, we were taking a ton of damage from our own spells and such. So, like, them racing us, I mean, it's, like, indicative of something, but also not at the same time. Like, their deck, I mean, does deal quite a bit of reasonable amount of damage in quick bursts, but at the same time, hopefully they don't swamp. Blackleaf Cliffs, sure. Yep. Probably takes Boulder Path here. A little bit awkward. Their deck doesn't have particularly much life gain in it, so I'm just going to Skull Crack on past turn. So Spear not the best here. Just since they're sitting on a handful of removal, most likely, if they're not playing anything. This is obviously a little rough, but if you have Skelemental or something, that's kind of whatever. Just gonna fetch. What do you have? Cling to Dust here? There's nothing. Okay. Well, they have Luris, don't they? Nope. They can't play Luris because of Liliana. Okay. Kind of an awkward card to hit there. It's like my primary fear with Searing Blaze. It's kind of a potentially dead card, especially in face of a Liliana Plus, most likely. Sure. Not gonna fetch. Skelemental is kind of annoying here, but it's just basically 6 mana, 6 damage. Sacrifice that pile. Sure. Just bolt you to end the game. Like, this is the one, like, issue that, like, Jund variants can have sometimes, right? Sometimes they just draw the control part of their deck, especially against a deck that probably boarded out Dark Confidants, so they might have, like, 11, 12 creatures against us, plus Plague Engineers. You know, obviously Skelemental is a very threatening card, but, you know, it is a one-shot thing, and if your unearths and whatever are being disrupted by relics, a little bit hard to kind of leverage your strategy somewhat. Alright, we're back for match number 2. We're on the play. Hand painful, but pretty good overall. So definitely keep these opening hands can be a little bit concerning from a life point standpoint. It's getting rather aggressively, so either Opsal Spells, Tron, or Dredge would be my guess. Maybe Bogles. Okay, Eldrazi Tron. I don't feel so bad that you mulligan to Oblivion now. Let's again preserving our life total a little bit. Doing this all pre-combat because it really doesn't matter. We'll just hand them guaranteed Tron on turn 3. Oh, so they're just going to naturally have Tron anyway. Gotcha. So what is our gameplay here? So the thought process is that I want to be able to do something with Searing Blaze, so therefore I shouldn't play the Fiery Islet. However, if I go Boros Charm, Lightning Bolt, that's 7, Goblin Guide's 9, so Searing Blaze would be lethal regardless. We could get Chaliced on 1, Chaliced on 2, which would be like worst case scenario. But I think I just do the thing that you want to use Dismember here. They're just dead, so hopefully not hand them another land. Maze Mind Tome's kind of whatever here. I think the worst line for us is they didn't crack. Oh, I guess they really want Maze Mind Tome, huh? 7 mana, huh? Okay. Sure. Sure. And then Maze Mind Tome? Yeah. Pretty good turn 3. Mulligan to 4, casually have a board like this on turn 3. Seems pretty good. Alright, we admittedly got a little bit lucky there. We were on the play too, yeah. At least we should be on the play for game 3, should it come to that. Definitely want the paths. Default D, Palms, pretty decent here. Wear Tear, obviously, kind of a necessary evil. Searing Blazes are pretty bad in this matchup. Eidolons are pretty bad in this matchup. Helix can be a little bit awkward, but this is a racing situation. Boros Charm can be a little bit awkward. Need to make one more cut. This hand's pretty reasonable. Not really vulnerable to Chalice on 1, but it is vulnerable as heck to Chalice on 2 and Thought Knots here. We're going to catch 6 here. I'm just going to crack one of the fetches. Get a basic. Kind of preserve our life total a little bit. Feels like they don't have to play this turn, so it feels like we're going to Chalice on 1. At least we handed them a duplicate land this time. Yeah, this has to be a wow. Okay, is that just a Tron hand then? Just hold up Path and Boros Charm here. Path if they have TKS, like Eldrazi Temple. Nope, they just have Natty Tron. Okay. Walking Ballista for 3. Perfectly fine with that ish. Probably taking Deep Home would be my guess. It's a pretty good one. Okay. Curran's gonna be rough to beat here. Sure. Don't think we're winning because of Witchbane Orb, but at least we're giving it a shot, right? So one of the two cards in their hand is a waste. Boarded in Wormcoil Engine. Interesting. Unfortunately, the standoff favors them. There's no way we can win at that point. Eldrazi Tron, ladies and gentlemen, making life miserable for burn players since 2018, 17, whatever it's been. Do think I keep this hand, but it's risky with the one lander. They kept 7, so we're dead. Okay, why would you... whatever. So we know they're guaranteed gonna have Tron on 3. Pass. I think missing the land drop, we're just dead. Unfortunately, like any functional E-Tron hand here, and we're just dead. Chalice on 1. Yep. Go get Transfer. Liquid metal coating. It's an interesting one. I figured you just could get Trinisphere here. Nothing we can do about that this turn, unfortunately. Actually, that was dumb. I should have rift bolted Karn, but in the end, I don't think it's going to matter here, as we're just not going to be able to play Magic. E-Tron doing E-Tron things here. Yeah, we weren't drawing lands for a while. Back for match 3. We're up to draw. Once again, looking at a one-lander. One-lander with 2 Goblin Guides and a Rift Bolt. So I have 3 1-mana plays. I think I'm going to go ahead and keep this. Oh. For a deck that's supposedly on the decline, I've been running into, okay, it's just Green Tron. Just Green Tron. Really need to land there to deploy another spell. I was going to say, why would you deploy? Triggers. Okay, so we just handed them the 3rd Tron land. So they got to go get Blast Zone. Okay. Now they have a decision to make. Eugene? Or Walking Blister for 4. Okay. Boros Charm, land please. Oh, we're still in the same awkward situation. We force them to use the Ballista here defensively. It's like the one game they could turn around this game quickly enough to do things. Like, legitimately, the only card I'm like moderately afraid of is Thragtusk here. I guess Ulamog would be game over, or pretty close to game over. Just had to say its name, didn't I? Land, please. Alright, so we're dead. Maybe. Cool. So if I would have suspended Riftbolt and played Skewer at some point rather than holding up Boros Charms, we would have won there. But since I was being conservative and played around certain Thragtusk, we got punished there. Vortex is okay. Deflecting Palm's okay. Paths and some numbers are okay. Those gotta come out when those come in. Certain blazes are pretty bad. I'll shoot one idle on, go like that. Yeah, that's a hand. That would be a hand. Hand them the missing power plant. We win through Thragtusk? I honestly don't know. Jiminy Christmas! Some leagues you're just not meant to win. Sure. Gonna get Blast Zone, blow up all our dudes. Cool. Alright, well, that was a fun league. Fun match, I should say. Hey, we're back for match 4. We're on the play here. Sure, opponent good luck. This hand is very good. 1 drop into Eidolon. Plus spell and skewer seems pretty good. You know, Inspiring Vantage here. Once again, consideration with fetch lands. You don't want to flood out, but you also want to... Actually, I think I'm going to talk myself into fetching turn 1 here, getting a basic mountain. Still kind of dumbfounded by that last game against Tron. Green Tron specifically. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that big of a god hand get blown out that badly. Dovescape. Alright, so we're up against Enchantment Prison. Let's try to get this game over as quickly as possible before they can assemble a combo. Nice. They probably need to play, okay. Or they can just concede. That's cool too. Probably interested in Roiling Vortex here. Interested in copies of Wear Tear. Searing Blazes can go out. Bring in the Core Firewalkers because they likely have 4 mulligan. Yeah, 4 mulligans. 4 ley lines to mulligan to. Rough Bolt's can be the next one out. And then kind of go like that. Alright, so we're up against Devscape Prison. This hand's decent against them. Obviously, we're not too happy against On Thin Ice, but that's probably mulliganing for their ley lines, which is fine. No ley line. Okay. So you're saying they probably have the prison lock, or at least Phyrexian Unlife. Red is to be able to cast Form of the Dragon. Oust is an annoying card. I just like to draw lands or Wear Tears from here on out. Cute. Just 6. Alright, so as handily as we got stomped by Trons, this matchup seemed pretty reasonable. Once again, they do have ley lines to mulligan to, which could be problematic. But nice to be back to 2-2, and on to the final match. We're on the draw here for match number 5. Hand's pretty decent overall. One vulnerability is a little bit vulnerable to a 1-drop creature on the play, but name like Vengevine, I wonder if they're on like Dredge or something. Hardened Scales of some type. Okay, Walking Ballista. 12 points of burn currently in hand. Hardened Scales into, okay. So Walking Ballista at least gets to be a Boros Charm. Not Walking Ballista, a Goblin Guide. Which is kind of what you need, because this is another matchup where so Walking Ballista gets to come in as a very, very large creature. Because I think the way Graft works and such. Please, by all means, tap that Nurturing Peatland. I think think they die, right? If they tap the Nourishing Peat land. Comes in as a 3/2/2, a 4/4, a 6/6. Hold your face. Lava Spike. Lava Spike. Pass turn. Could be dead to some random things here. I guess Ravager doesn't just do it because they would need to play either another 0-mana artifact or this is definitely the game we have to have, because Game 2 and Game 3 get infinitely harder once they get access to likely up to 4 Nature's Claim post board. Haven't seen green-black Hardened Scales in some time. Okay, so you're dead. Cool. Oh. Come on, you know you want to tap that. Cool, so you are dead, unless you are main decking Nature's Claims. Alright, so Rolling Vortex isn't super exciting, but we might bring it in. Paths are pretty reasonable against the whatchamacallit deck. The Welding Jar deck could potentially want Deflecting Palm, although them attacking with just one big giant idiot isn't always the case. Eidolons can be a little bit suspect. Probably boarding out Rift Bolts against the... if we are bringing in Roiling Vortex. Boros Charms can probably go out because they're mainly a creature deck. And we're trying to play like creature defense pretty much. I think especially on the draw, I'm just going to go Eidolons out. Roiling Vortex is already kind of enough of a gamble. You know, we can't completely blank their Nature's Claims simply because, you know, their Nature's Claims are primarily to leverage their own stuff as life gain. So, stands a keep. Once again, one risk with this hand is floating out, or Monstrous Whisper dying or being neutralized pretty early on. Wear Tear, this is definitely one of the matchups where the Wear Tear could potentially get fused. People ask, why would you run Wear Tear over other things? Long story short, without running something specifically like Disenchant, it covers all your bases pretty much. This is the kind of matchup where like the green version would really shine with access to like the D-Rev and such. They tanked on that one for a bit, so must be like a high risk, high reward hand. Turn 1 Ozlith? Yeah. It's one of those hands that like, or if it's lacking a green source or something. Certainly be a reason for them to tank. Looks like that might be the case. So this hand is a good amount of tension between Swiftspear and the spells in our hand. Like, we want to hold up instant speed interaction for Inkmoth Nexus, but at the same time we want to progress our damage in their face, so okay. +1/+1 counter. Pay 1. Just counter prototype. One more. Okay. I think we just burst damage this turn. There's a decent chance we could die to Inkmoth next turn. But I think I have to take the gamble here. This might be the last chance we get damage in with Swiftspear. And our hand isn't exactly flush with damage right now. Phyrexia's Core is mildly unfortunate. Back Walker, sure. I think they're likely to block with the servo here. Yeah, that's fine. This is one of those hands where things could get potentially awkward with Burn. Like where we boarded in a lot of hate cards and we're seeing all those hate cards. I boarded in Deflecting Palm, I did. Deflecting Palm not looking so hot here unless they go for like the one shot Inkmoth kill. That said, we do have a bunch of Throne of Geth, sure. Not attacking here, just doesn't do any good. Pathing this would unlock a green source, which just seems bad. I think I might actually want to go ahead and blow up the Ozolith now. Just can't really get any value off of it. Still have Path and another Wear Terror, plus the ability to crack Fiery Islet here. Because the problem with like Animation Module and Throne of Geth is it does get to like extend Inkmoth Nexus's power. So like one shot from Inkmoth alone is going to like cause us a lot of problems. Another Hangerback Walker, yeah. The problem is with boarding out Boros Charm is you get in these weird situations where no one singular card is going to get you where you want to go. Three of the Hangerback Walkers is pretty rough. You have no way to gain life here, right? Not missing anything. Alright, be back in a sec with the wrap up. Alright, we're back for a quick wrap up with our third league here with the one that I built on stream a couple weeks ago, a week ago, whatever it was. E-Tron continues to be the burn boogeyman, and the last couple leagues I seem to have tracked it. I'm not sure what's up with that. I don't think there is any particular way to build Burn to beat E-Tron on a very consistent basis. I think it's a matchup that can be close, but is also definitely in their favor. And then that Green Tron series was just like, game one, I definitely punted with, well, I don't know about punted. The line I took with holding out the Boros Trons and the Skull Cracks, play around Thragtusk, which I think was perfectly reasonable. There is a good amount of Thragtusks in the main deck of Tron of late. I think that plays around a card that's more likely than the sequence of Walking Ballista into Ulamog, and then just us being unable to cast our spells and then dying to getting locked out by either Trinisphere or Liquid Metal Coating from their card, the Great Creator. And then game two, I mean, I'm not going to pass up the hand that is 4 1-drop creatures and 2 relevant spells in Roiling Vortex and Boros Charm. And then we drew Goblin Guide the following turn. The sequence where they went Star or Cantrip into Cantrip into Weather the Storm. You're just not beating that. I mean, I guess you could like maul to a Skullcrack or have played Roiling Vortex onto you, but you're just not beating 21 life gain into Blast Zone. I mean, like, I said something in the Burn Discord, and they're like, well, you need utility spells and reach and this and that. I'm just like, it's Tron. You try to beat them before they hit their payoffs, not after. Or at least try to put yourself in a position where you can, like, burn them out after they, hit their payoffs, rather than trying to, like, prolong the game and play this mid-range battle, top deck battle with them. But, sometimes Magic, as good as our draw was, our opponent had the draw to trump it, and props to them. And then game one, obviously, if I would have taken a different line one of those turns and they didn't have Thragtusk in their hand, which we still don't know if they did or not. They probably didn't. But, the line they took just happened to line up against our Goblin Guides. We got stuck on that one land for a little while. Another thing I still continue to struggle with is, like, one land keeps, it cost us a game against Rakdos, cost us a game against Tron, or at least had the potential to catch us a game against Tron. So, we had a chance to steal the initiative back from Tron in game one. Game two was what it was. And then, the other matchups, Prison, white-red Prison, but it's basically mono-white splashing Form of the Dragon. Maybe some other cards like Blood Moon, I guess it could potentially even run. That matchup pretty much comes down to Leyline and Phyrexian Unlife, and we just had some pretty good aggro draws and they couldn't really match it. Scales, tricky matchup, especially in the post-board games. We got lucky. They kept a kind of a greedy 7. I mentioned it, I think, when they were considering keeping their 7. I said, well, they considered that hand that long. They probably don't have a green source or something. And it turned out to be that's exactly what their hand didn't have. They had one card stranded in hand, which very easily could have been a Nature's Claim. Beyond that, match number 1 was red-black midrange. So, yeah, 3-2 overall. Pretty solid. Can't complain. Still think the decks perform reasonably well. And the one matchup we seem to like get paired against that I can't beat consistently is E-Tron. Even the 4-color Omnoth piles haven't felt like as impossible as I thought they would. I guess that it has some inconsistencies to it that Burn can exploit. Obviously their power level's off the charts if they get rolling, but we're a deck that's trying to keep you from getting going and then punishing fumbles there. So, anywho, that's the wrap up for this league, and I'll be working on the Burn sideboard guide probably sometime in the next couple days. This has been John for MTG Nexus.